All right, hello YouTube world. Don and I are trying this live for the very first time.
That was a win.
That's a great start.
That was it. Wayne's World. Was it Wayne? Wayne was cool, but Garth just deer in the headlights.
Just
No,
froze.
we're good. We're excited. This
Froze.
is a crazy topic. Crazy
Absolutely.
timing.
So just how this kind of got put together for the people out of town. I'm sure if you're listening to this, you realize by now that there's a major winter storm coming. Don's house is kind of right in the bullseye of it.
We're at our corporate studios.
Oh yeah, our corporate studios.
We had to scramble to get to these corporate studios.
Yes, well, I did. I drove down
Yeah.
here, and it's a great idea. Don was very instrumental in the 2014 decision and the move of the game to Detroit as the former director of football administration. And we're just going to take some time here, and we're going to talk about that maybe like what they're discussing with the league at One Bills Draft today. Don actually just had a text from the guy who heads all of travel for the NFL and
Bill Harpo. Yeah, he's moving the 49ers right now, and I worked with him at the Bills, and he just texted me, he goes, if I were the Bills, I would move to Detroit or make the trip to Detroit right now, he said. So
yeah,
off the record, but that he's not with them anymore. But.
So the just so anybody knows who's listening, this is our first time doing this live. So any comments, any questions, I'd love to practice interacting with people. Our plan going forward is doing some more of these live interviews and sessions. As the playoffs get a little closer, we had an amazing interview with Daryl Talley yesterday that we'll be releasing either later tonight or tomorrow.
Awesome. Yeah.
And Daryl's the best. He's the best, and we got an exciting giveaway with that as well. So let's just get into it here. So tell me, in 2014, what were you doing? What were you in charge of for a regular road game? And then what changed once you realized that the snow was coming then?
So 2014, I was in charge of the travel aspect, the part of the trip that, first of all, it was up to me to report to Bill Harpole and the airlines.
And who is Bill Harpole?
He was our liaison to the airlines, the person in charge of setting up the flight contract at the beginning of the year and ensuring that a plane would be ready for us to go to and come back from every game.
Okay.
No small task. It's not like, hailing an Uber.
Yeah, right. You're moving an army. We've talked about this, in some of our podcasts before. It's like moving an army.
Yeah, it is. And it is expected to go without a hitch. As we've talked about, we've each been assigned tasks that maybe were new to us and it was under pressure. And the only thing that could happen is for it, you can't let it go wrong.
Right.
The expectation
you can only F it up, right? That's all you Yes.
So in 2014, the snow was predicted kind of a lot like this week. I think it might have been more of a storm coming. This week kind of snuck up on the team. But so we knew we were going to have a home game against the Jets.
Yep.
And on about Tuesday of that week, the snow came in 7 feet or something in a couple days.
Yeah, and it just didn't stop.
Even for here, it's one for the ages.
Right.
And the Mount Rushmore of snowstorms.
Right. It's called Snow-Vember.
Yeah, it got a nickname, Snow-Vember. So immediately there was talk about, so we couldn't go into the office. I mean,
okay.
I had pictures somewhere, but we put this thing together so quickly I didn't think of bringing them up. But you might recall, when you looked out on our driveway, the snow was 2/3 the way up the garage door and completely covering the cars. They were just it looked like a Mounds bar or an Almond Joy.
Right.
It's a white, those are the cars. Impassable.
When they call it Snow-Vember in Buffalo, it means a lot.
Yeah.
So the team, it became pretty apparent quite quickly that this game couldn't happen in Buffalo, correct?
It did. And that's where, as stressful as it was, and I can't even, with a capital S, all caps stressful, at least for us in 2014, it happened on a Tuesday. We are sitting here, you and I, on a Thursday at noon.
12:30, right.
Yeah, only 72 hours from when this game's being played. And tomorrow's the deadline for the league and the team to decide if the Bills are going to move. Oh, I'm so glad I'm not doing that anymore.
So you
Detroit.
think noon on Friday is pretty much the drop dead date?
Eric at Cover One asked me what time the date was. I know it's Friday. I don't know if it's noon again. My frame of reference was 2014, where we knew on Tuesday. So Friday, was irrelevant.
Okay.
So this is relevant to them.
So let's back up 2014. Yeah. So the snow happens. It's clear at that point that the game was it clear right away that the game had to be moved? Like I feel like there's gonna be more of a discussion this time because obviously it's a couple days later. When it became clear that the game was gonna be moved.
So on the Tuesday where we got all the snow, couldn't go in the office. I mean, no one could go anywhere. We got an email. I was one of maybe 10 or 12 department heads at the building that was told, stay on this group email, continually check your phone because we may have an impromptu meeting, not Zoom, but a phone call.
Sure.
And there will be a decision about, number one, whether to move the game, and number two, where to move the game. So on that Wednesday afternoon, between one of my snowplow adventures, I checked, and lo and behold, we're going to have a meeting mid to late afternoon on the Wednesday. And at that point, team president was Russ Brandon at the time, said, I've been talking to the league. It is likely that we're moving the game somewhere. At this point, we don't know if we're going to move it to Washington, D.C., Pittsburgh, or Detroit. We're in discussions with all of those. Obviously, those teams were away.
Right.
But we also had to find out if this is a big thing, hotel availability that had enough rooms available, meeting space.
So let's
and meals.
Let's back up for a second.
Yeah.
Okay. So first of all, we have a question from Stephen Burns. He asked, do you think that they'd be able to move the time of the game from like 1 to 4 p.m. On Sunday, like even up until, what would that deadline be? Do you know?
I don't. I think not that you care, because I assume, Stephen, you're a Bills fan, but the Browns are impacted by this as well.
Right.
So they have to know, they have a hotel reserved here in Buffalo, obviously, for Saturday night. Yep. They have to know whether they need to get a hotel in Detroit or stay in Buffalo. And then the time could be moved. Yeah, I mean, that's an option. It could be moved to Sunday night, Monday.
Here's the problem, though. Then the Bills play on Thanksgiving. So you can't really move.
Josh, that's a great point.
You can't. If this was any other week,
I didn't think of
you
that.
could move this game to Monday night.
Holy cow.
And it probably would have already been moved to Monday night.
Yeah.
If this was any other week except for Thanksgiving week.
Here's the deal, though. The Bills play on the road, ironically, at Detroit on Thanksgiving. That means Wednesday's a travel day. So they can't play on a Monday night.
Then play Thursday. And then no. And the league will not cancel the early Thanksgiving game.
No. So they're going to have to play this game. Yeah, that I'll bet Bill Harpole on the text was telling me, okay, if it were him, he would move the game. I'm sure he had that in mind. That was a great point. So on that Wednesday in 2014, we were told those are the possibilities. Give it some thought. We're going to meet tonight. We got another message saying we're going to meet tonight at 11 p.m. on that Wednesday night.
Okay.
So we all go in our respective houses, and we get word the game is moving to Detroit. We're going to travel on Thursday night. Will be a flight. So Bill had to get a plane for Thursday night. The next night.
Okay.
And I'm leaving a big part of this on the shelf. And then Friday, normally we'd have about 120 people traveling.
Okay.
It's only going to be the players, coaches, and trainers and equipment guys that are going to be on the plane.
Just essential staff.
Yes. And now the semi-essential staff, which I was part of, we will have buses going from. So fortunately, we weren't talking about a game in
Kansas City,
Seattle, or something. The busing to Detroit was fine.
Sure.
Now the roads were still impassable.
Okay.
But they, the emergency services, they some people, this got under their skin, but there was word that the plows were going to clear a path specifically just for the Bills, and there would be police escorts.
I'm sure that was real popular.
No, it wasn't. No.
I'm sure. No.
Less popular than it would be, I think, for the 2022 Bills.
That's fair. That's
14,
fair.
We weren't bad in 14. Well, whatever.
So all right. So then let's when they make the decision that the games. So okay. Do you remember why they chose Detroit? Was it just the ease of how close it was?
Again, the three possibilities: Washington, Pittsburgh, Detroit. The factors must have been, and Pittsburgh's the same distance. That
you mentioned there were like three things: food, hotel availability, and
the hotel availability would include not just room availability, but meeting space availability.
Right.
Because you kind of take over the hotel when
Yep.
when you go.
And catering.
And the food, catering, yeah. I mean, and it's not just peanut butter and jelly sandwiches and wheat thins. It's
right. And you need two hotels, because you need the Bills hotel and you need the hotel for the Jets. So you have to find two.
The league did. Right. We didn't care about the Jets, but the league.
I'm just saying there has to be that availability.
You're putting the shoes of the league. You're right. They had to factor in that both teams could go there. So on that night, on that Wednesday 11 o'clock call, it was surreal. I remember sitting in the back room where you've been at my house, not here at our corporate studios, but it was the most still night you can imagine. Just pitch black, not a thing. The snow just buried not an animal. And we were on this call, and it was video guys, equipment guys, and trainers. And I won't name names, but there were a few department heads that, let's just say, first of all, they were being honest. They're like, look, we can't leave our home. There's no way for us to physically leave our home.
Right.
And it hadn't been brought up yet that Paul Lancaster was working on, I think he went through Facebook to put a group together of a snowmobile club.
Okay.
That was going to have to go to every player's house, pick them up, bring them to the stadium, and then they would have buses to the airport, the hangar.
Yeah.
And have that one route open. And they were still skeptical that it could be done, but their skepticism, in retrospect, in conversations I had with other people, were like, we thought those guys might have been getting fired that night.
Wow.
It was just as impossible as it seemed. The skepticism just didn't play well, and but we all know the story. We got it done.
It's the NFL, and you just get it done, right?
They will kick that ball off at Sunday at 1, or was it Jeff who said they might move the game? That's an excellent question. The Thanksgiving factor next week adds, as if this isn't stressful enough, it adds an element of
right. They could probably move it from 1 to 4
sure,
pretty easily, even like Saturday night,
maybe even Sunday night. But that game's got to be played Sunday.
Is there a deadline? Do you know to move a time if you're staying in the stadium? Like if it's Saturday at noon and they say, man, we can't get these. I mean, every hour helps.
Yeah.
So instead of Sunday at 1 at Highmark, it's Sunday at 4:15. That's probably not a big deal, right? I mean, I know there's network considerations, whatever.
I'm going to be honest. I would say, and now if the game's going to be played here in Buffalo at Highmark, now we're going to flip the script. And there are two factions at One Bills Drive that are hand-wringing in a way that's going to keep them up at night. Well, probably keeping them up at night is relevant because they're going to have to stay up all night.
Right.
But the stadium operations folks that have to make sure that people can park there.
How many people are in the stadium operations department? Like full-time?
I want to say when I was there, it was maybe 8 or 10.
Okay, and these guys, so maybe we'll just take a couple minutes here, and these guys are unsung heroes. I was so impressed with what these guys did when I was there. You never think about them, and you'll get a cursory shout out every once in a while. Yes. But so these guys literally are in charge of everything to do inside the stadium. So they drive plows, right? Like they'll clear the parking lots.
The team owns, I think, at least 4 plows. They might ask for other people to come in and help, but they do all that.
Okay.
The facility cleaning. Yep.
Okay. So the stadium operations department will obviously want this game to be moved. If they had a choice, they have to be all one team and saying, hey, whatever it does, whatever helps us win this game is what we want. Of course.
But that's where I think they would actually, that 3 hours might actually make a difference if they were told they had 3 extra hours to plow by moving the game from 1 to 4 if it's here.
Right. Okay. So the stadium ops guys obviously want the game. Would maybe want to, I don't want to say it like that because they want the Bills to win. And when you're in the NFL and you're in an organization, this is what people always talk about when they say it's in the whole organization.
Yep.
Because everybody always thinks it's just the players and the coaches, whatever. But no, there's some times where people can have an ancillary benefit. So, okay, so you said the one side is the stadium ops guys. The other side is obviously the football department who would prefer to have the game here because everything logistically is already done.
Because of everything we said before, it's such a monumental logistical lift to try to think about, getting a stadium. And it's hard enough on a regular week, like when they're back-to-backs. If you have to spontaneously go and do one in 3 days, Gail Zielinski, Jim Overdorf's assistant, started working on the hotels when the schedule came out in late April or early May. She started working on the hotels then.
Okay, right. So you're talking about a Saturday night in a city where you need to basically take over an entire floor of a hotel. You need
4 floors.
4 floors.
Yep.
4 floors, meeting space. You have to get catering within the span of. Now, who pays for that? The Bills or the NFL?
We pay for it, but my understanding is for a situation like that, we had to keep all the receipts and send the league a report, and they reimbursed the team for a majority of those expenses.
Okay. So once the game got decided to be moved, what changed for you? Other than everything.
Yeah, no, you're right. No, I had to suddenly go from having it be a home game, which is relatively easy for me, or it was, to whipping up a manifest. Now I have templates. You have templates from the previous week when you traveled, but who's going now, who's injured, submitting it to Bill Harpole, again, who was our intermediary between us and the airlines. Everyone got per diem, the cash per diem. I didn't have $12,000 cash laying around my desk.
No,
I had to arrange that through the bank, come up, and have it divvied up. And
how'd you get the plane?
Well, Bill got the plane some way, somehow. Again, going back to just get it done.
Yeah,
like that was on him. He's going to come on our show. I asked him to come on now, but he's moving the 49ers. Otherwise, I know he will. But in the future, he's got stories. I told him if he writes a book, I'll be first in line for it.
Sure. So you get the plane. So did it take off at regular time?
It did. So I had to, even though I wasn't going to be on the plane that time, which was an exception to the rule, I still had to get to the hangar to be there before anyone else, with Bill and the TSA guys and the screeners. It was Angel Valley and Dave Bryden and those guys, and be there first before the team buses came in. It was weird. Doug Marrone came in with us.
Okay.
Yeah, he was with us and talking about. I think
was he checking everybody's shirt and tie?
No, not that day.
Not that day. Oh, he didn't.
That day.
Oh, yeah. Wow.
It took something that extraordinary for him to relax,
deviate from the boot camp.
From that stare.
Doug Marrone was our first featured coach on the thing that we do every show, where Don spins the wheel of failed Bills coaches, where we spotlight.
I call it the playoff drought coaches.
Don't talk over me. So we do this every episode, where I'll give Don a coach, a position coach, head coach, strength coach, whatever, from his 13-year run as director of football administration, and he has a couple insights or funny stories. So Doug Marrone was our first one in our interview with Glenn Parker.
The second one.
Yeah. How could I forget Rob Ryan? I'm sorry.
Yeah.
So okay, so you then tell me about the bus. Tell me about the bus ride to Detroit.
By that time, things were fine. The buses were arranged, and we had, I think, 2 buses. Although I remember one, we pulled off to a throughway exit, and he hit a pole.
Did you go through Canada?
No, we did not go through Canada. Hold on. We did. You're right.
Okay.
And as much as I hated those Toronto games, everyone had to have a passport.
Right.
To go. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah.
So you went through Canada, Windsor, London.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
So you had to cross the border twice. Did you go the day before the game?
2 days before the game.
Okay, so you were there Friday.
Yeah. Now.
No, they moved the game. The game was Monday night.
It was Monday night.
Okay,
right.
So you went Saturday.
It was. I'm thinking it was Friday or Saturday. It was either Friday or Saturday. It might have been Saturday.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you get there. Was everything the same as a regular road game once you were in Detroit?
It ended up feeling like a regular road game, although the guys that were there already, the equipment guys, the video guys, the trainers, looked like zombies. They were exhausted.
Okay.
Like from having to, excuse me, we're live. So suddenly, make this trip and then resume their duties as if they were home. They looked miserable. Now we won the game.
Yeah. The equipment managers that's a tough job.
Yeah.
Like that is, and I can imagine if they had prepared themselves for a home game, that obviously looks, they're probably for an away game, I'm assuming they're preparing that starting like that Monday, the day after a game. They're probably preparing for a road game, so they have to then take all of that preparation and condense it into like a 48-hour window to bring all of that equipment. God, that's tough.
Yeah, equipment truck went, and then they were assured that they had, can wash everything and and prepare it. They have dry cleaning to do.
Did you go to Ford Field before Monday night?
I did not have to go to Ford Field.
What was the Lions' role in all of this? Like
they were just, I think they had played the day before, but the stadium looked great, and we used, I shouldn't say used, the Lions volunteered their some of their administration to help us. We'd been to Detroit many times. We knew the stadium.
Sure.
Played there every preseason, but they offered some of their personnel to help just be like a liaison, and the game went really smoothly.
How many fans were there? I don't remember.
A surprising amount. I think the tickets were free.
Okay.
And I want to say there was a solid, it felt like a home game, a solid 15,000 seats.
Okay.
Yeah, it really did. It was, by that time, it almost was like just a distant memory, all the work that had to go in to getting there. So we were kind of prepped for this because, at least as a visiting team, in 2007 and 2008, I want to say back-to-back years, played at Denver and at Cleveland. And both times we played the game, it was weird how similar they were. Both times during the game, we were being told about how much snow was in Buffalo.
Okay.
At least the Denver game we were. In Cleveland, it was happening there. It started off as freezing rain and it turned into snow. So we ended up, Jim Overdorf had to, the hotel that we had stayed at the previous night and checked out of.
Oh no.
We had to ask them if they could take us back in for another night.
Couldn't come home. Okay.
So they somehow cleaned up all the rooms, put meals together, and then from Denver, we flew home. Stadium operations department went all the way up there. I think Bob Schatz was involved in that, and ensured that all the players' cars were cleaned off.
Oh, that's nice.
Everyone's car, not just the players.
Wow. That's nice.
It was. Excuse me. But then when we came home from Cleveland, so in Denver, what we did was the hotel said they could take us back, but they could not provide a meal. Fair enough. So we promised we put a memo out, put it under everybody's door that go ahead, get your own dinner, and then we will reimburse you a night's per diem in your next check, which I had to do.
Okay.
So in Cleveland that night, they were able to provide a meal. It was pretty decent. It was kind of 2/3 of what a regular meal would be.
Okay.
And a breakfast.
That works.
It was legit. Same thing. It's kind of like 2/3. So then we have a plane ready, but we have buses going to the Cleveland airport. I don't know how we flew. It was only like a 35-minute flight, but we did. On the way at the airport, our buses got stuck in the snow and mud.
Oh, God.
So they had to pull that out. The plane couldn't stay, even though it was a charter. Yeah. So we ended up just asking the bus drivers, hey, could you just drive us to Buffalo?
Really?
And they did.
Wow.
So we get back, and the next day, one of our players, Langston Walker, he was a mammoth offensive lineman, comes up to me and said, hey, Purdy, you owe us all per diem. I said, wait, what do you mean? He goes, yeah, we were supposed to have a meal.
Oh, my God.
I said, well, you did. They provided dinner last night and breakfast this morning. He goes, yeah, but then when we drove home, we didn't get lunch. I said, well, you could have come into the team cafeteria, or at that point, the term of the trip was over.
Right.
We weren't, I'm going to try to talk to Troy Vincent about that, Troy was the head of the players union, who he didn't know had played for us a few years earlier.
Okay.
And I had my battles with Troy about the CBA.
Sure.
To the point where, he made me real sharp. He and Ross Tucker are two guys that made me real sharp with the CBA. And so I said, you know what? I'm pretty sure I'm right about this, but go ahead and give Troy a call.
You want nice.
That's probably why it wasn't an arm wrestling match.
No, right. That's probably why you're telling.
Yeah. So he said, I challenged him to call Troy, and I said, tell him that I told him to call you. He's like, never mind.
It's funny. So a couple more things. From the Cleveland point of view, okay, let's say you're the road team. So you're preparing to come to Buffalo. Obviously, if you have to go to Detroit, it's not the end of the world. You're already preparing, a road game, so it's not as heavy of a lift for their staff as it would be for the Bills staff.
Right.
But so they'd obviously. Do you think they already have like a hotel lined up? Like,
they're talking about it.
Okay.
I mean, yeah, they're absolutely on the phone with Detroit and the league to see, okay, if that's what happens.
Who do you think makes the ultimate call? Who made the ultimate call in 2014? Was it the Bills or was it the NFL?
I think the Bills insured the league that it was not going to be possible to play the game at home, and I think they accepted that. And at that point, the league kind of took the lead to say, okay, let us figure out where we're going to move it to and when it's going to be.
Okay, so obviously the Bills want the game at home. So
Right.
if the Bills are saying we can now, they were talking to like meteorologists, and does the NFL have their own meteorologist?
That's a great question.
I feel like they
I
do.
would have to say they do.
I know Las Vegas does.
Yeah, like a Dr. Fauci of weather.
Right. I would think that the NFL has. I think the NFL has. The Bills would use like an NFL meteorologist or whatever, because obviously they have to have it for like lightning delays and all. Nothing to do with snow, but just in general, I would think you'd have like either a central weather service or maybe there's a choice station here that they use. I don't know.
I have to believe there is a ultimate controlling authority, or not controlling authority, that goes too far, but an advisor that would give their own. I don't know who it is.
Okay.
I don't know. And back in 2014, I was part of the secondary discussions of really just execution. Once it was decided where we were playing, it was up.
Do you know what happened? What happened with the tickets? Being a former ticket office executive that you were.
Yes, I believe what happened was season ticket individual game ticket holders were refunded. Season ticket holders were given the option of taking a credit, or getting a refund. So yeah, that was a huge headache for the ticket office too.
Right,
absolutely, that's a good point.
Yeah, that's a whole ordeal in and of itself.
They're hating this right now too. Yes, that calls in an exercise of trying to get the message out to all the season ticket holders. Yeah,
these just questions coming to me as we come. Do you remember like how they get security for the game in Detroit?
We had to take our own security. We always did. We had 4 floors, and when the elevator doors opened up, there was a security guard, usually a former police officer, sometimes a current one.
When I went on the road, it was back then in 2000. It was 1 floor. Mm-hmm. Everybody was on the same floor, and there was the 2 guys sitting at the elevator, and literally all night long, like a babysitter, just sitting at the elevator. Yep. And then I remember that you always had to have a clear view of the stairwells.
Yeah,
because I had heard stories about how guys would sneak. It wasn't guys sneaking out. It was more them sneaking females up. That was much more of the challenge in a hotel. Not necessarily guys leaving. It was who was coming in.
There were no outsiders allowed on those floors. It was up to the security guards to.
This is kind of perfect time to talk about this. Did you ever do bed check?
Yes, I did. I assisted with it.
I hated it.
Times. Oh, you did too?
I did. Oh, I did. I was given that during the preseason.
Yep.
And so I was told that we had to physically see every player in their room. Mm. Now, some of the players took that as an invitation to let me physically see all of them. And they got a kick out of the fact that, oh, yeah, come check where I am in the room or in the bathroom or in the shower. And, I dreaded bed check. It wasn't fun.
Yeah, I was only limited spot duty. It wasn't a regular thing for me. That's good because I don't know that ever happened. But Paul Lancaster, who was the director of player engagement when I was there, a good friend of mine, we usually would go out to dinner, come back, and it was his job. So
not a fun job.
No,
because it's another one where all you can do is screw it up.
Right.
Do you remember in Detroit? Like, was the police presence there? Like, I mean, they had that. I mean, basically, you're having another home game, right?
Yeah. Well, a quasi home game. I have to say, like, my recollection of when we finally got to Detroit was, you've pointed this out too, when you get through a game, you can kind of exhale, like, okay, we moved all the chess pieces into the right place. Now it's time to know and do what we normally do, which was actually for it to feel like a regular road game.
Sure.
You know,
Did you had to take the bus home?
We flew home.
Oh, everyone flew home.
Yeah, everyone was on the plane when we flew home. Yeah, we
That's
took a big
interesting.
plane,
So because you won?
I don't know.
Did you become
No.
essential personnel after you won?
I don't picture Bill Hartwell sitting there in the fourth quarter saying, "Okay, I got a plane ready and a bus ready, and we win. We'll do it." No.
Okay, so you went 2 days in advance. So what's your I know you have no inside information here. What's your prediction? What do you think happens based on we're sitting here at 1:00 on Thursday afternoon.
Yeah.
There's not any snow yet here for anybody who doesn't
Isn't that
live
weird?
here.
Yeah,
There's
not
not
a drop.
what do you if you had gone to your head, what happens?
I would say the odds are 3-1 in favor of the game being played here.
Okay. 4:00, 1:00, 8:00.
I like the 4:00 at least. I mean, that's low hanging fruit.
Sure. Except for the fact that they play at 12:30 on Thursday.
Exactly.
Because the football guys, the
yeah.
coaches, the trainers do not want this game moved back in even an hour.
No.
I mean, and they have the early game on Thanksgiving, not even the 8 p.m. game. Typically the Thursday night game is a Thursday night game. So you at least have 3 full days. This is 72 hours.
This is brutal, Josh. This is brutal. I'm just thinking, yeah, when you look at this as a package deal with that Thanksgiving game being there, with Wednesday being a travel day, and we are sitting here Thursday, so 7 days where you're talking about traveling twice, playing 2 games. That I can't imagine. 2014 was nightmarish. We got it done. This is worse.
Who'd you play the next week?
Do you remember? I don't recall.
Was it a road game?
I don't recall that either.
Okay.
I mean, look it up, but
yeah.
So it was Monday night at Detroit, the home game. I don't remember.
Probably a road game, right?
Yeah.
If it was a home game the week before, odds are it might be a road game the next time. I mean,
it could be
hard to know.
Right.
Anything else you remember from that? From that entire experience?
Just that I remember, like, the way Buffalo goes. The snow can be snow bands that come off the lake. Just because I wrote a book, cheap plug.
Thunder Snow of Buffalo,
Yes.
Available in the Bill store and on
well.
Amazon. You know what? I'm going to grab it real quick. Go ahead, keep talking.
All right. It's so extreme in that regard where I remember. Sorry. Marv Levy wrote the foreword. Yes,
he did.
Getting to the airport or the hangar on that Friday or Thursday for the team to fly out. I had to be there even though I wasn't on the flight. My car, I cleaned off the windshield, obviously, but I remember looking at my car, and you could tell all the cars that had come from the south up to, because it wasn't a drop of snow in Cheektowaga.
Yeah, no, I had nothing.
Right.
Zero.
So you could tell all the cars that came from like 3 feet of snow. It looked ridiculous. But when if anyone knows Charlie the Butcher, they're going to get a heck of a plug here. But we used to always get Charlie the Butcher sandwiches as like a little snack on the plane before their actual meals.
Right.
And they were just so good, something about them. So when I was up there, got everyone on the plane. It took off. Bye-bye. And I was like, wait a minute, I'm just a mile from Charlie the Butcher's. And I'd never been in the store.
Okay.
I went there, and we hadn't been able to do any grocery shopping there. So I went to like the Tops up near there.
Okay.
And it was so funny. Cars didn't have a speck of snow on them. And mine had.
Yeah, that's great.
And I got Charlie the Butcher sandwiches. I brought it home to my daughter Claire, and she was like just hugging it. Oh my gosh! I just roast beef sandwich from Charlie the Butcher.
It's funny. I got a question. If they do move the game to Detroit, do you feel like they will stay in Detroit till Thursday? Obviously, the equipment guys are not coming back home. The trainers, let's say they move the game to Detroit, then they're playing in Detroit 3 days later.
That is very, very much a possibility.
I mean, they could probably book hotel. The players would come back home.
Maybe not. The fact that, as unlucky as this timing is to move a game so close to it, where they might actually be very lucky is the possible scenario you just mentioned of just staying there the rest of the week.
Where would they practice? Because it's a home game for the Lions, so the Lions are going to be there too.
Yeah,
That'd be weird.
Could be
A college.
University of Michigan or not Dearborn.
They're in Ann Arbor.
Yeah, they're in Ann Arbor.
I mean, I'm sure they could
college
figure that. There's a University of Detroit.
Yeah,
I'm sure they could find a field.
Yeah, the team has practiced, on high school fields before.
Wow.
It's the same 100 yards and.
Before we go, I'm going to tell a story, a travel story that I think you. Do you remember when I had to pick up all the Kentucky Fried Chicken?
Yeah, I think you mentioned that once, but this is a perfect time to talk about that.
So that, oh my God. So first or second preseason game that I was traveling, and I've told a couple other stories about how I was hazed, and to Coach Phillips' credit, to Wade's credit, he wasn't really big into hazing, and you had to stand up at training camp at senior school's alma mater and the cafeteria, but there really wasn't a lot of that, typical hazing. But they thought it'd be funny. Usually, I don't know, was it just preseason games or for the regular season? You mentioned the Charlie the Butcher snack. Back then, it was mostly KFC.
Okay.
Ted Cottrell loved. I mean, just like I've never seen a man happier to get food than Ted Cottrell and Kentucky Fried Chicken. So they decided to tell me that I needed to pick up the order before going to the airport on Saturday. So if you remember, you go through the walkthrough, you go home. Usually I was gone by like 10:30, 11 o'clock on Saturday morning. I go home, I change into my suit, get in my bag, shower, whatever else, and then get to the airport. And I think it was 2:30, 2:45 you had to be there, something like that. And the plane
usually like 1.
No, it was later back then.
Okay, all right.
It was, anyways, preseason game, 90 players, big plane.
Right.
We need you to go to Kentucky Fried Chicken. And it was right Maine and Bailey, right on the way, because I made the mistake of telling them I lived in Tonawanda and I wasn't too far away. So I don't remember who. So they set me up for this.
That was a rookie mistake.
They set me up for this. So I'm panicked because I need to get a large order of fried chicken for 100 people. And this is like in 2000. So I'm going there, and I'm assuming that it's paid for. Wasn't paid for. I walk in. I'm here to pick up the Bills order, and I'm thinking this is going to be smooth, bing bang.
Yeah, they have it ready, right?
Correct. It was ready. Wasn't paid for. Now I wasn't prepared for this. I didn't have cash. I didn't have a credit card that could accept the limit of the order. I don't remember how much the order was, but it was over. It was like $1,600. I mean, it was large, and I didn't have a credit card. And now I'm panicking because I'm looking at the clock.
Did the car smell like chicken from?
Oh, God, it was awful. Yes, and that was part of the joke. So I'm panicking. Don't have a cell phone. I didn't have a cell phone.
Oh, that's right.
So I call my mom, and I'm like, Mom, I'm on the way to the airport.
Same old story.
I can't have any questions. You need to run over, because it was luckily for me like 3 minutes from my parents' house. You need to run over to the Kentucky Fried Chicken and be prepared to put $1,600 down on your credit card. Joshua, what are you talking about? I'm like, Mom, I love you. Shut up. I need this done. I can't miss this plane. I can't. This is my first game. I was like, I can't. She's like, this is wrong. They're taking advantage. I mean, I know they are. I will get the money back. I promise. She's like, no, you don't understand. You can't let these people do this to you. And I'm like, shut up. Just get over it. I'm like, not right now. I'm like, you can't do this. So she came over. She paid the thing. And I think the employees kind of realized, that they're kind of in on the joke or whatever else. Yeah. So I had boxes, cardboard boxes of fried chicken. Yeah. I pulled up to the hangar. And I remember Ronnie Jones was involved, and Wade was involved. John Butler was involved, and Mr. Butler would sit in the front seat of the plane. Yep. And I walked up, and by that point, other people were helping me with the boxes. She's like, "Oh, nice to see you made it, kid!" And there's this big belly laugh, and I'm like, "Oh, sure, Mr. Butler." And of course, you got to play it off, and you got to laugh about it, and that's kind of your initiation, and you kind of know that you're part of the team.
I'm surprised they did that to you, because I always witnessed rookie players doing it. Now, at least they had the means to pay for it. You know what I mean? Like that.
Yeah, tough. I think a couple of the coaches, as I told with my story about being lower than whale shit, that's going to come on the Darryl Talley interview. I think a couple of the coaches really
you just reminded me of something.
Were into the hazing, and really, I was the new guy, and those guys had been there for a while together, that entire staff. So like the new guy coming in, and I was young, I was only 23. Yeah. So they really, it was harmless, but I was panicked. That's my good travel story.
That's a great one. I saw plenty of hazing, but that is right up there. I got to say, it's funny, we had Daryl on yesterday, and my first trip I ever made, I was working in the ticket office, and I had no reason to travel. They just kind of rewarded me and Paul McDonald, another guy in the ticket office, good friend of mine who lives in Florida, and they handed us a couple pieces of paper, and they said, "You better memorize this and you better practice." And it was the shout song.
Okay.
And they said, when you get on that plane, it's a tradition, you have to stand up and sing the shout song. Mm-hmm. I'm like, oh my god!
And the shout song was new then. It's not like the shout song now.
A few years old,
right.
But oh my gosh! So I, as much as I was looking forward to a trip, I was dreading it. And
they ruined the anticipation for you,
very
right?
much so.
Yeah.
And so I had it with me. I don't know if I actually really even practiced. Kind of knew the song. We scored a lot of touchdowns back then, so you heard a lot.
Yeah.
But I'm thinking, I get to the airport, nobody says anything. I get the plane, nobody says anything. I sit down in my seat, nobody says anything. I'm like, oh my gosh, it was all a joke. It's not going to happen. And I'm there, and Daryl Talley walks. I can't believe I didn't tell him this yesterday. Shoot. Walks down, leans down to me and goes, "Make sure we can hear you in the back, kid."
Oh my God. Oh, you had to be panicked.
Oh, I was panicked. I'm like, oh, what's going to happen? And then we take off. Nothing never happened. But like you said, it ruined all of the.
Yes, yeah. They take away your anticipation and your excitement. I was thrilled to be going on the road, but all I could think about was this stupid chicken order,
of course,
and making sure it was all right. I didn't drop any of the boxes. Like I had to bring the to the back of the plane. And Ted could try the biggest belly laugh, and he got the biggest kick out of the entire scene of anybody I know. So I think that's going to kind of wrap it up for us here. It was kind of interesting and cool to talk about.
I'm glad, for as much as you and I scrambled to get together to do our first live, what's happening over at One Bills Drive, and for that matter with the Browns, is exponentially thousands of times more. This is fun, but man, I don't envy what they're doing right now.
We're gonna do this more often as the playoffs get a little bit closer. Yeah. We can hop on and do some live broadcasts with some players and staff and coaches. Yeah. We're gonna release the Daryl Talley episode either later today or tomorrow morning. That's a fun one. Daryl's the best. He's got a good Bruce Smith story and a great story about my favorite play in Bills history. And then, we got a lot of big guests coming up, and we have an exciting partnership with TSE Buffalo, Total Sports Entertainment.
Yeah, I was there this morning. It's a cool place.
Yeah, cool place with merchandise, and we're going to be
Tyler over there. I'm excited to see.
We're going to be giving away a Daryl Talley signed mini helmet, and then as we have guests from like the 1990 team on every time, we're going to have a piece of signed memorabilia to give away to our listeners. Mm-hmm. So we will see everybody soon. Thank you.
All right, go Bills.